Hey, it's Zell. Today, we have a question from a student who prefers to be anonymous. I'm gonna call this student May. So here's her question. May freaks out whenever a recruiter asks her to talk about a bad experience in an interview. She had a complicated situation and she wanted to talk about it in a way without blaming the company that she was at or saying that she lacked experience and therefore sucked. She tried a few variations. I don't know what she tried, but she didn't really get positive results from it. And right now, she's also considering lying about the bad experience to hopefully find a job. Now, I love this question because there's a lot to unpack in this situation itself. But to really unpack things out, I think we need to talk about May's experience and see what she actually experienced. So, May got a job, but she was fired within 3 months of that job, and that job was her first job. Why did she get fired? Well, she couldn't complete the task that she was tasked to do. And she tried to ask for help, but nobody had the time to help her, or nobody was willing to help her. Her boss even said, I know you're asking me. Her boss said, I know you're asking for me to help you, but I don't have the time to train you. Now, this one specific point echoes what I said in my last video, which is the job search pro tip video that I mentioned. I'll leave you a link to check out that video because that may just change how you think about finding a job. Now let's come back to May and her experience. First of all, I am sorry to hear that you got fired from a job. I believe that it's a pretty traumatic experience to get fired within 3 months from your first job. It seems to say that you're not good enough, and that really hits home if you're thinking about future job opportunities. It is tough to get back, but if you're willing to get back on your feet, this experience is a good experience to have. It sets you up for success in future because the way you think about learning and the way you think about working will change completely going forward. So don't write off this as a bad experience and hope that it didn't exist. This is actually a good experience, and you will find that this is actually a really good experience on hindsight, maybe in a year or two. So keep that experience in mind for now. The second thing I would want to say is that this experience is actually the perfect experience to talk about when an employer asks you about a bad experience. Now, if you think about it, why do employers ask you about a bad experience question? Standing from an employer's point of view, the employer will want to know your character and how you deal with challenges when you're in a pinch. Because companies, sometimes you go in a pinch and you need people to be able to stand up and work and deliver results. So they want to see how you react or how you respond as a person at your core when you're in a pinch. And to answer this question, first of all, you need to be honest because people can smell bullshit from a mile away. If you try to fake it, people can tell and people will feel uneasy and you will definitely not be selected for the job. That's what I feel. Second, you need to reflect on the experience that you had. So ask yourself questions like, why did this thing happen? What do you get? Why do you become inefficient in your work? Why couldn't you perform? What's the difference between that job itself and the studies, the projects you did when you were in school? What were you afraid of, or what were you worried about? What were your expectations when you took up that job? What were your expectations when you took up the project? And how was reality different from your expectations? Finally, what lessons did you learn from this experience, and how do you ensure that something like this never happens again in future? So you need to sit down with yourself and find these answers because nobody can find the answers for you. only you know what has happened and only you know what you learned. So craft your answers into a script if you can, and then when a recruiter asks you that question, you tell your story. You tell your story truthfully. Start with the fact that you got fired because of this. Be honest with it, because honesty is important. If your employer knows that you're being honest, I believe they will be more open to hearing you out, and they will be more honest about you as a person and the entire company and their situation they are in. So you'll get more info about the job as well. So it's a win-win situation for both of you. Second, if the employer doesn't want to hear honest stories, you're probably going to have a hard time working with that company in future. So you want to think twice if the employer boots you out because of this bad experience. So remember that you're interviewing them when you're going for interview as much as they're interviewing you. You want to feel comfortable with the company that you work at. So talk about what happened. Start with the fact that you got fired. Then talk about your expectations about this job. Talk about what are your worries when you took on the project. And talk about how expectations were different from reality. Talk about how you asked for help but how you got rejected. Talk about what you learned and how you prevent it from happening again. The most important part of this whole experience is how you grew from that experience, because we're all humans. We screw up from time to time, and that is normal. It's normal to screw up. If it helps, you might want to see how I talked about my project from hell, which is an experience that is really, really bad. I got stuck at it for 9 months instead of 3 months, and because of this project, I actually stopped freelancing for 1 year. And it really scarred how I thought about freelancing. So you might want to check out how I talked about it, and I talked about it publicly on my blog as well. I'll link to it in the description below, so you can check it out. Watch how I look at the situation. Watch how I talked about it. Watch how I concluded the situation. It may seem that I am blaming someone else, but am I really blaming someone else for this situation? Or am I being objective about what has happened? Then once you read the blog post, the article that I've written, start crafting your story. You can email me with your story and I can help you look at it and see how I can help in that case. Then prepare yourself and remember what you would say for this situation, and then talk about it when an employer asks about it again. So just be confident that this has happened, this is what you learn, and it's nothing to write off as a bad experience, because every experience is a learning experience. Alright, that's it for this video. I hope you learned something, and all the best for your job search. Now, if you have any questions about front-end development or face any barriers as a developer, leave a comment below with your question. I read every response, and I will try my best to answer these questions over videos, just like how I did with me in this case. If you like this video, I hope you hit the subscribe button below, and I can send you more videos like this every Friday. Or better yet, head over to my blog at zelwk.com. I will leave a link in the description below, and subscribe over there. If you do that, I can send you one article and one video each week to help you become a better front-end developer. That's it. I hope this video has been useful for you. Happy Friday, and I'll see you next week.